Namaste. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the first session of the Civil 20 Live Conference on Acharanam, Indic Wisdom for Sustainable Lifestyle. The theme of this session is Shastric Foundations of Ecological Consciousness. We all know that ecology is treasured across the length and breadth of this land. Every village in India has a sacred grove. Every temple is associated with a river, a tree, or a natural space. All Indic scriptures, from the Rigveda to the Bhagavad Gita, are replete with references to sacred ecology, the importance of the environment, and the management of natural resources. Therefore, there is no doubt that this ancient Indic wisdom has had a profound influence on the Indic worldview and is the basis for the Indic lifestyle, which is in harmony with nature. In view of this background, the session titled Shastric Foundations of Ecological Consciousness will discuss and document the connection between our scriptures and our ecological lifestyle. For example, the insights from Valmiki Ramayana and Saiva-agama will be shared by the speakers. It will also explore the design of the temple and how temple microcosm influences universal macrocosm. The aim of this session is to understand how Indic wisdom can provide us with seed ideas to help save our environment at the time of ecological crisis. This session will address the following questions. The first, what makes us respect all forms of life? Second, why do we venerate our forest, trees, rivers, lakes, animals, and mountains? Third, what are the folk traditions that celebrate nature? And the last, how rituals and temple practices transform human consciousness. The key speakers for this session are Dr. T. S. Shanmukha Sivacharyarar, Dr. Rajnish Mishra, and Dr. R. Rangan. I request all the three speakers to please occupy their place on the dais.
Om Vande Gurum Shivam Sambam Dakshina Murtimavyayam Yatvandanena Mandopi Vindet Guru Samanatam Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Buddhi Rupena Samsthita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha Kadalagi Kasindu Kannir Malgi Oduvarthammai Nannirikku Uippadhu Vedam Nangirum Mei Porullavathu Nathannamam Namashivayave Namasabhai Sabhavatibhyascha. My humble pranams to the satsang here. I would like to present the view from Shaiva Agamas, exactly what this universe is, and I would like to present a paper because it's around 12 to 15 minutes. I always thought this would be better. I will just present my paper here. Shiva Nishvasitam Vedaha Vagrupascha Shiva Agamaha. The vital breath of Lord Shiva are the Vedas. And the agamas are the words. Like when a person is breathing, we will not able to see him directly. Unless and until we see him directly, we will not able to know that he is there. So whatever the Lord Shiva has said, it is coming through his words called the agamas. Shiva Nishvasitam Vedaha Vagrupascha Shiva Agamaha. And only when we experience, like whatever we perceive, we experience, only by experience. Once we experience Lord Shiva, that the purpose of the birth, Shastra Shaiva Agamas says, and we have to reach Lord Shiva. Pati, Pashu, Pasha, Tritayam, Tripadarthaha. Pati, Pashu, and Pasha. Pati is the Supreme Shiva. He is, Adi Madhyanta Nirmuktaha, Swabhava Vimalav Prabhuhu, Sarvajnaha Paripurnascha, Shivaha Agnayaha Shiva Agame. He is absolute. The Parashiva is called Paranada. From the Parashiva, who is always with the Parashakti. It's called Samaveta Shakti, inseparable. Like Ardhanarishwara, they are inseparable. Then comes another Shakti called Parabindu. From the Parabindu, the creation begins. From the Parabindu, next Nada and Bindu called Shiva Tattva and Shakti Tattva, then Sada Shiva Tattva, then Ishvara Tattva and Shuddha Vidya Tattva, which are called as Shiva Tattvas. In general, all the 5 Tattvas are called Shiva Tattvas. Then Vidya Tattvas, we have 7, and the first one is the Maya Tattva, and Agamas talks about, Maya, Mahamaya and Maya, Parabindu and Bindu. And this from this Maya Tattva, the world we are living begins. And that's why my topic I said from Maya Tattva to Priti Tattva, from the 31st Tattva to the first of the Tattva. So, Pati is Lord Shiva, Pashu is all the individual souls, all the souls. There are 84 lakhs of species. Human being is just one in it. And the prayers that are performed at the temple reaches every beings. And Pasha is whatever other than Pati and Pashu, everything Pasha, this ecology, everything, the environment, everything remains as Pasha. So Pati is the transcendental Shiva. When he acts, he does the 5-fold function of Panchakritya: creation, preservation, dissolution, wheeling and grace. The Pashu are the Atmanaha, those who are the reason for the creation of the world. Vishwa Nimittasya Praptam, for the Lord to create this world, he didn't have any reason for it. He gave this world for these Pashus to exhaust their karmas. Like in the Bhogakarika, Bhoga is Sukha and Dukha. So, the world itself has no use for itself, since it is Achaitanya, nor can the creator have any use for the world, since he is by definition without desire, nor can he do an action without utility. Therefore, by inference, the world must have been created to be of use to some other entity. This other entity is the Kshetrajna or the soul. Pasha is the bond. The difference between the bound soul and the liberated soul is only that of the limitations of the Pasha. One is dependent and the other is eternally conscious. The bonds, also called as Mala, are threefold. The first bond is original covering of the Anu, Anava Mala, exists beginninglessly. It shrinks the soul from being infinite to a finite bound entity. The other two are Karma and Maya that are manifested by the grace of the Pati for the benefit of the Pashu in order to remove the Anava Mala. The eternal power of Karma binds all worlds from Maya to Kala and helps the soul take bodies and various experiences. Maya is the entire manifested world. It gives the space and substrate for the soul to be embodied and to be liberated. Today we will see how the Siddhanta sees the world, what Shaiva Agamas talks about the Pati, Pashu and Pasha. The insights, this was the introduction. The insights, the way the Siddhanta sees the world is in the form of 36 tattvas from Pati to Prithvi tattva or the earth. As we saw earlier, the Para Nada and Parabindu are different. The Shastra says Gandhe Prithvi Rase Jalam Rupe Agni Sparshe Vayuhu Shabde Vyoma Yetaha Tanmatraha Thamasahankare Shrotra Tvak Chakshu. It talks about how it goes back from the Prithvi Tattva to the uppermost Shiva Tattva. And here Tadapi Akshubdha Rupe. Akshubdha Rupe means that Maya which is not disturbed. To that Maya, above that Maya Tattva is Lord Parashiva. So Shaiva Agama talks about this world as the real world. It talks about different tattva, Shuddha Tattva, Visa, Shuddha Tattva. Shuddha and Ashuddha is called Mishra Bhuvana, which has Maya, Kala, Niyati, Kala, Vidya, Raga and Purusha. And Ashuddha Tattvas, which is called Atma Tattvas, Prakriti, Guna, Buddhi, Ahankara, Manas, Jnanendriya, Karmendriya, Tanmatra and Panchabhutas. All belongs to Atma Tattva. Atma Tattva, Vidya Tattva and Shiva Tattva. There are 3 Tattvas. So these 3 Tattvas are there in the Shivalinga also. We do Atma Tattva, Brahma Bhaga, Vidya Tattva, Vishnu Bhaga, Shiva Tattva, Rudra Bhaga. So when we offer the praise to Lord Shiva, like when we water at the root, it reaches each and every part of the tree. As all the eminent speakers they spoke, we are going to the root. We are going to this Indic study because we want a solution by which not only the world we are living should be happy, but all the worlds around the universe should be happy. So this Prapancha, the Agamas talks about 224 bhuvanas also in Chadadva. There are bhuvanadva. All the bhuvanas are being worshipped in Lord Shivalinga in the form of Sadashiva Rupa. There are 36 tattvas. And regarding the tattvas, apralayam yat tishtati sarvesham bhogadayi bhutanam tat tattvam iti proktam. Na sharira ghatati tattvamataha. It is not just whom we see today. We are talking about the nest, the source, the seed is being protected by the prayers performed at the temple. So the Acharya, what is the part of the Acharya? Achinoti, Acharati, Acharya Sthapayati. We have the Acharanam. So what is the part of the Acharya, the Adishaiva? He has to undergo the Diksha. It's called Acharya. It's called Shivacharya. The power of Siddhanta is to make the entire creation accessible to us. One of the powerful processes through which the entire creation is made accessible is Bhuta Shuddhi, that treats the human body as an intersection of the Pati, Pashu and Pasha. The microcosm, which is an instance of the macrocosm. Like this mic helps me to give the words in a bigger sound. Likewise, all the Pashus are connected to the Pati through the Acharya. Shuddhi is to cleanse. Bhuta denotes the body made up of 5 bhutas. The Stula Sharira. Bhuta Shuddhi is the 5 kinds of Shuddhis required before the Adishaiva priest becomes eligible to perform Shiva Puja. They are respectively Atma Shuddhistu Purvam Syat. It starts like Atma Shuddhi, Sthana Shuddhi, Dravya Shuddhi, Mantra Shuddhi and Linga Shuddhi. Shivikaranam, by this process looks simple, but I always say, a SIM card looks simple, but each and every design has its own meaning. A seed looks simple, but if you open a seed, it loses its meaning. So these rituals are so meaningful, it has to be practiced as it is. So the Pancha Shuddhis are there. So it talks about Prithvi Tattva. Maybe tomorrow's session we will have in a detail, because it talks about different colors for all the Pancha Bhutas. And we will see the evolutes are envisioned to devolve back into their superior Tattva. As we saw, the Prithvi Tattva, Gandhe, Prithvi, Rase, Jalam, it goes back to the source. Rase, Jalam goes back to the Gandha, Jala goes back into the Rasa, Agni goes back into the Rupa, likewise. The Stula Sharira is made up of 5 bhutas. These are cleansed by using them against each other. The Paraspara Virodha Bhava. It's very interesting. The Bhuta Shuddhi, at one point of time, the Acharya forgets himself. Agama says, Chandrarka Nashane Puja. When the sun and the moon are destroyed, it means you are connected into it. It's called, you have to go into the Sushumna Nadi. Chandra and Surya are the Ida and Pingala Nadi. You should totally, Chandrarka Nashane means, you should totally be away from it. And that is Subramanya. Subramanya, Valli Devasena is Ida, Pingala and Sushumna. So once you start traveling in the Sushumna, you are able to reach the Dvadashanta, which is the abode of Lord Shiva. And Nataraja, who is dancing in all of us. What I speak, what you hear, every movement in this world is Lord Natesha's. This has been explained in the Agamas. So it talks about the Stula Sharira. And Stula Sharira, as we saw the 5 elements, it talks about, all the 5 elements, the Prithvi, Jala, Agni, Vayu and Akasha. It talks about the mandalas, the color, different colors for these Panchabhutas, and texture, whether it is Kathina, whether it's hard, everything has been explained in the Agamas. And, the yantra, the symbol of these Panchabhutas are explained. It's like this, like you have an app. You have to just touch it. You talk about touch phone. You touch it and you're able to open it. So when we worship Lord Shiva in the form of Sadashiva, which comprise, the whole universe is comprised in the form of Sadashiva, Sakala and Nishkala. So you are able to touch the whole universe. Whatever is offered there, the Nivedana, the Abhisheka, and Madam, she rightly said, even the students are, they're encouraged to do the Jala Abhisheka to Lord Shiva. It means they are doing, to the whole universe, like watering at the root. It talks about the Pancha Bhutas and how it can be balanced. So by performing the Bhuta Shuddhi, by performing the Archana, the 5 elements are being balanced. See, sometimes our software engineer, if he is unable to come to our home, what he does is he can operate from his place. We just have to give him, okay, we have to just accept his request, and he can access our system. Likewise, through the temple worship, the Acharya accesses all the worlds and he makes it happy, balanced. So the natural disasters can be warded off by the proper prayers at the temple. And benefits. The attitude is not just for temporary gain, but a far-sighted vision. Yavat bhavasya samshuddhihi tavat shaucham samachari. Bhavana mata santushtayi namaha parashakti. Bhavana is very important. That is more important in Agamas. It says the 5 elements and all the tattvas are accessed and purified. They are accessed. It can be felt when the Acharya does for the Prithvi Tattva. Om Hlam, he says the Hlam is the bija for the Prithvi Tattva. Lam is the Prithvi bija, and Ham is the bija of the soul. Ham is the bija of the soul. So what happens is Hlam means the Prithvi is being cleansed. So likewise for all the other elements also we have the bijas. So the challenge it also keeps the manifested world in order. That is what we are talking about. Sir was talking about, how much of pollution, how much, so many things are happening. This can be changed by the system if this Indic system is followed. So manifested world order, the right relationships in the right proportions, so that it keeps the world in balance and prevents natural calamities. And even, Mahadev was talking about even the food we intake. Like soya, he said, the soya milk. The soya, soya oil, it makes changes in the system also, with the relationships also. So here, by the prayers performed at the temple in the prescribed way, it can make changes in the whole environment, in psychic changes also. So the challenge to every tradition is in demonstrating the efficacy of that path. Bhuta Shuddhi demonstrates to the initiate that not only does the Siddhanta give him the map of the universe, but that he can travel back up to the source using the Siddhanta map. Like a GPS, you just have to worship as per the Agamas. It says you have to do every minute details are given in the Agamas. How much water has to be used, how much Nivedana has to be given, every minute details are given. So we can go to the source, Lord Shiva, in an easier and faster way. So we got into the flight. I didn't do any effort. My effort was nil, but I was able to come to Ahmedabad yesterday. So likewise, we just have to enter into this system by which we are taken to the right source. Every day he tests the truth, and every day he realizes the truth. Just as a student studies the anatomy of a body and sees it in practice when he cuts open a body, the initiate is able to visualize the microcosmic universe by the prayers. The recommendations. Our Sanatana Dharma tradition is not for one, but for entire creation. It's called Sanatana, it's eternal. One family, one world, one future. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The family is a family of all the souls, not just human beings, all the beings. And world is emanated from the Maya Tattva, as per the Shaiva Agamas, from the Maya Tattva. It is real. It is not unreal. It is real. What I'm seeing is real. So it says, Maya Tattva. The future is both our current future in this mundane world, in this birth, and the ultimate moksha. So the philosophical truths should reach all people around the world for the appreciation and preservation of this ancient tradition. So this should reach our younger generations, because they have so much of questions, and I pray our learned audience that we have the technology also today, so we should reach each and every part of the world through about these great truths. Temples are the core of this tradition. Prayers at the temple should not be disturbed. Like, if the password is wrong, if you enter the password in a wrong password, you cannot enter. The prayers has to be done as it is. There should not be any kind of compromise there. So, should not be disturbed, because what is happening to us there back in Tamil Nadu. We cannot change the tradition ad hoc. It is programmed like the I always say it is like .exe file. .exe file, only the software engineer will know. Other people, the user will not know. But if you delete it, we cannot use the other files. So our Shastras are like exe files. So without that, we cannot move away. It's like the source. It's like the tower. When we move away from the tower, we have to say hello, hello, hello. We cannot reach. So our Shastras are nothing but our exe files. So like a exe file. It's more than that. Even a small change in that can change the entire nature of things. So we have to be very careful. It cannot be taken for granted that we cannot fathom or predict. Those who administer the temples on behalf of the society should also know the basis of the tradition, so they are able to better serve the temples and the public without their personal bias. I cannot, delay the utsavas because everything is based on time, everything is based on space. So everything has to be done as it is. When people are aware of the philosophical background, their journey is richer, faster, and meaningful. Therefore, everyone should aim to get Diksha in their own traditions, because Diksha, Diyate Kshiyate, it gives the Sadbhavana. So it's so important. So all the Pashus, in whichever tradition you are, you should get the Diksha, the traditional Acharya Parampara, to access the continuity of many thousands of years of wisdom, as well as keep themselves focused on the path without getting derailed in materialism. This itself will have a huge impact on both human wellness and as well as ecological wellness. And sixth is, once they understand the tattvas, they will realize that they are a part of everything and everything is part of them. So the oneness, Abheda Darshanam Jnanam, takes place. So when we destroy what is outside, we destroy a part of ourselves as well. However, even when people are not aware of the Agama, ensures that they are protected through the Parartha Puja at temples. For example, the Vyadhi Nashana Vidhi and Adbhuta Shanti Vidhi seeks to protect the whole world and prevent Sarvesham. It doesn't say Shaiva, Vaishnava, any particular, it says Sarvesham, for all the beings in the Vyadhi Nashana Vidhi. So we need to protect the practitioners because they are the Agram Vrikshasya Rajanaham, Moolam Vrikshasya Pujakaha. The root has to be protected. So they have to be protected. They are charged with this for life, for universal benefit. We cannot change this dharma to a job. This is not a job, this is a way of life that has preserved our common human heritage for thousands of years, that should not be destroyed with political notions of appeasement. We need to foster further research on the Agama traditions. This is more important, so we can harness their knowledge treasures. There are several thousands of manuscripts that are yet to see the light. They need to be preserved, transcribed, edited, published, and translated into many languages for the people. The government of India should recognize the priceless value of this ancient integrated social system of temple rituals and philosophy for universal benefit and take it globally. Like, we say we have this in our country. We have this in our country, come and watch. Like that, we have this tradition in our country, which is praying for the universe. This has to go through the government of India. And this is the right time, offering for the wellness of the whole world. Through embassies and soft power, this treasure should reach the world as India's eternal prayers for the entire universe, irrespective of the religion, nationality, or even whether they are human, plants, animals, or inanimate entities. And at last, there should be highest protection to strengthen and preserve the continuity of this ancient integrated system of universal prayers, as this is closely intertuned with all the nature and the multiverse with the power to impact and influence it. I thank the audience, the learned scholars here for this opportunity, and thank you very much. Namaskaram. Jai Hind. Vande Mataram. Jai Hind. And I also thank this Punya Bhumi and especially the Kshatriyas of the northern part of India. See, whatever we are able to come and speak, they say southern part of India, we have this rich in culture and everything, but this has been protected by all of you. We feel that this is the platform for us to give it back to all the Kshatriyas who have given their lives to protect whatever we have in the southern part of India. This has to come back, and this is the right beginning and the right place. Once again, congratulations to all of the organizers for this very big Sankalpa. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram.
When there is a call of Jai Hind from one side of the dais, I think there should be an echo from the other side as well. So as Sir says Jai Hind and Vande Mataram, I request the audience to also respond in the same note. So Jai Hind. That's great. So thank you so much, sir, for your very powerful and spiritual exposition, and for in such a lucid manner, you explained to us the profound importance of Shastras. So now, moving ahead, before that, I would also like to share a brief introduction of Dr. Shanmukha Sivacharya. He's an experienced traditional Adi Shaiva religious priest and a Shaiva spiritual practitioner. He's also an academic scholar of Vedanta Shiromani. He holds masters and doctorate in Sanskrit with special focus on Shaivagam. So thank you so much, sir. Before we move ahead, I have a small piece of information for our expert speakers. So for each speakers, we have a time limit of 15 minutes in accordance with this schedule. So to ensure the program is running on time, we shall have a timer over here. And after 15 minutes, there would be a sound of the bell. So
Hope I completed in 15 minutes.
yeah, of course. So moving on to our next speaker for today, Dr. Rajnish Kumar Mishra ji. Thank you, sir. Dr. Rajnish Kumar Mishra specializes in the theories of meaning and interpretation, both Indian and Western, in order to locate the interface domain of linguistics, literature, and philosophy. A member of the Shastra group at Center of Linguistics and English, JNU, which is producing English translations of select classical Sanskrit texts. He has presented research papers in various international seminars and published articles on Indian grammatical traditions, theories of meaning, and philosophy of language for several volumes. He has recently been awarded the Japanese Okita. I hope that's a okay. Memorial Fellowship by the ICCR for 2 years for his significant research that has bearing on Indo-Japanese cultural contacts relation. And currently, he is involved in the research on Kashmiri Shaiva philosophy and literary theory at the Center of Linguistics and English, School of Language, Literature and Culture, JNU, New Delhi. So I request you, sir, to. Okay.
या सृष्टिः स्रष्टुराद्या वहति विधिहुतं या हविर्या च होत्री ये द्वे कालं विदत्तः श्रुतिविषयगुणा या स्थिता व्याप्य विश्वं यामाहुः सर्वबीजप्रकृतिरिति यया प्राणिनः प्राणवन्तः प्रत्यक्षाभिः प्रपन्नस्तनुभिर्वतु वस्ताभिरिष्टाभिरीशः. My pranam to all of you, acharyas on the dais, and very learned audience, great scholars. I feel really privileged to be here, not just to share whatever I have been thinking and I'm going to share with you, but it's a great learning opportunity for me also. So in that way, I feel myself very much fortunate that I have been invited in this seminar. This Mangalacharan, a kind of Mangalacharan, is given in the beginning of the very famous play, Abhigyana Shakuntalam by Kalidas. And Shiva is worshipped in these 8 forms. And what are these 8 forms? Jal, या सृष्टि सृष्टुराद्या, सृष्टि की पहली सृष्टि जल है. अभी हम सुन भी रहे थे विद्वान वक्ताओं को. और इसके साथ अग्नि, फिर यजमान, सूर्य, चंद्रमा, आकाश, पृथ्वी और वायु. इन चीज़ों को आप देखेंगे तो ये भारतीय साहित्य हो, दर्शन हो, अध्यात्म हो, विज्ञान हो, इन सब में एक अद्भुत अन्विति है, तारतम्य है, इंटीग्रिटी. और इसलिए इस देश ने कभी विज्ञान, धर्म, अध्यात्म को अलग अलग समझा नहीं. ऐसी कोई सी भी बात नहीं होगी जो अवैज्ञानिक हो और धर्म से युक्त हो. या कोई अधार्मिक बात हो और वो विज्ञान द्वारा समर्थित हो, तो एक अद्भुत इंटीग्रिटी इस नॉलेज ट्रेडिशन की रही है। इसलिए दर्शन, अध्यात्म, विज्ञान, तंत्र आदि इन सभी विधाओं में आप एक प्रकार से देखेंगे कि एक कॉमन थ्रेड प्रिवेल करता है इन सब में। जिस विषय पर मैं चर्चा करना चाह रहा हूँ वो थोड़ा मैं एथिकल डायमेंशन लेकर के इस पूरे विषय को प्रस्तुत करना चाहता हूँ। आई थिंक we are living in an age of value reversal. This is the age of value reversal. ये हम पर निर्भर करता है कि वैल्यू किसके साथ हम अटैच करते हैं, किन चीज़ों को हम वैल्यू समझते हैं। कुछ चीज़ों की चर्चा मैं एक दो व्याख्यान जो यहाँ मैंने इसी यूनिवर्सिटी के लिए रिकॉर्ड किए हैं उसमें मैंने चर्चा की है, तो थोड़ा उसका विषय लेते हुए मैं अपनी बात आगे रखना चाहता हूँ। एक तो देखें कि श्रेय और प्रिय, ये कठोपनिषद का बहुत प्रसिद्ध डिबेट है या एक पक्ष है। यम नचिकेता संवाद में ये बातें आती हैं। तो श्रेय क्या है और प्रिय क्या है? श्रेय वैल्यू है, उसकी जगह पर आज हम क्या कर रहे हैं, प्रिय को वैल्यू समझते हैं, है ना। तो इसके मतलब जो हमें अच्छा लगता है और जो होना चाहिए, इन दोनों में शायद हम ये भेद भूल रहे हैं या श्रेय के स्थान पर हम प्रिय को स्थापित करने की चेष्टा कर रहे हैं। और हर बार पश्चिम को दोष देना भी ठीक नहीं। हमारी अपनी बुद्धि भी तो होनी चाहिए कि किन चीज़ों पर हम विचार करें कि ना करें। सदैव पश्चिम का अनुसरण करते हुए पश्चिम को ही भला बुरा कहते कहते तो थक गए। अब चीज़ों को ज़रा रिफ्रेश बटन दबाना पड़ेगा, है ना, फिर से विचार करना पड़ेगा। अभी हम जितनी बातें अपने शास्त्रों से कहते हैं, यह अच्छा तो नहीं लगता बोलना, लेकिन शायद सच भी है, इसलिए बोलना चाहिए। अपने लोगों के बीच नहीं बोलेंगे तो कहाँ बोलेंगे, है ना। जितनी बातें भी हम कहते हैं अपने शास्त्रों से, वेद उपनिषद आदि ऐसे ग्रंथों से, हम उतनी ही बातें सामने लाते हैं जितना पश्चिम एस्टैब्लिश करता है। उसके समर्थन में अपने उद्धरणों को हम प्रस्तुत करते हैं। ये ग्रंथ हमारे हैं, हमें क्यों इतना आत्मविश्वास अपने ऊपर नहीं है कि हम इनकी स्थापनाओं को, इनके सिद्धांतों को लेकर के आगे चलें और अपने लिए अपने तंत्रों को विकसित करें। विकास के जो मॉडल होते हैं वो हम डेवलप करें, जो हम पहले करते आ रहे हैं। ऐसा नहीं कि वो समाप्त हो गया हो, वो कड़ी टूट गई हो, लेकिन जिसको आजकल लोगों ने मेन स्ट्रीम समझा हुआ है, उससे उसको बाहर किया हुआ है उन सारी चीज़ों को। तो चीज़ें हैं, नथिंग इज लॉस्ट। पाणिनि ने एक सूत्र लिखा था, अदर्शनम लोपः। इसका मतलब यह है कि दैट विच इज नॉन विजिबल, वो एक अलग प्रसंग में है, ध्वनि विज्ञान में आप सभी जानते होंगे, लेकिन दैट विच इज नॉन विजिबल इज कॉल्ड लोप। लोप डजंट मीन इट इज नो लॉन्गर एग्जिस्टिंग, इट इज वेरी मच देयर। Things go in hibernation mode sometimes. So this is our duty, our responsibility to bring them back and associate with the present situations. So श्रेय और प्रिय का ये द्वंद्व हमारे सामने है। और हम जानते हैं शायद जिसको हम धर्म कहते हैं वो प्रिंसिपल ऑफ सस्टेनेंस और डेवलपमेंट दोनों है। धर्म हमारा एक शब्द का अनलिखा संविधान है इस देश का, और हम सभी यह जानते हैं कि क्या धर्म है और अधर्म। प्रकृति ने इतना अन्याय हमारे साथ नहीं किया है, हम करते क्या हैं वो अलग बात है, लेकिन हमारे भीतर यह चेतना जरूर है कि क्या धर्म होता है, क्या अधर्म होता है। दुर्योधन जैसी स्थिति हो जाती है तो बात अलग है, वो उससे निकल नहीं पा रहा है इस द्वंद्व से, है ना। बट ईच एंड एवरी वन नोज व्हाट इज धर्म एंड व्हाट इज अधर्म, है ना। तो श्रेय क्या है और प्रिय क्या है ये भी हम जानते हैं, लेकिन किस ओर, किस डायरेक्शन में हम जा रहे हैं। एंड दे आर टू डिफरेंट मोड्स मूविंग इन टू डिफरेंट अपोजिट डायरेक्शंस। तो ये दोनों, एक बार यात्रा दूसरी तरफ शुरू हुई तो आवश्यक नहीं है कभी भी, या बहुत कम संभावना है कि वो लौट करके श्रेय की तरफ आए। इसी तरह से प्रवृत्ति और निवृत्ति की बात आती है, उसमें भी देखिए यही रिवर्सल काम करता है। निवृत्ति से अधिक प्रवृत्ति, त्याग से अधिक संग्रह। त्याग वॉज द वैल्यू, एब्स्टिनेंस वॉज द वैल्यू, कंजम्पशन नहीं। और जितनी चीजें हम आज चर्चा कर रहे हैं शायद इसी इम्बैलेंस के कारण हैं। बृहदारण्यक उपनिषद में आप जानते हैं एक बड़ी सुंदर कथा आती है कि ये तीनों ही ब्रह्मा के पास जाते हैं, देवता, असुर और मनुष्य। और वहाँ कुछ समय बीतने के बाद जब उनका वहाँ वास पूरा हो जाता है तो ब्रह्मा से उपदेश प्राप्त करते हैं। ब्रह्मा केवल कहते हैं द का उच्चारण करते हैं और फिर पूछते हैं कि समझ गए या नहीं इन तीनों से। देखिए यही अंतर है प्रकृति और संस्कृति का। संस्कृति वैसे ठीक पता नहीं कितना है शब्द, हमने इसको कल्चर का अनुवाद बनाया हुआ है आजकल, लेकिन संस्कृति, जो संस्कृत के विद्वान हैं वो जानते हैं संस्कृत वाङ्मय में बहुप्रयुक्त शब्द नहीं है, बहुत कम जगहों पर इसका प्रयोग है, लेकिन व्याकरण सम्मत शब्द है, साधु शब्द है। तो प्रकृति तो वह है जो प्रदत्त है, संस्कृति हमें कुछ और प्रेरित करती है परिष्कार की, निर्मित करने की, उसमें हमारी चेष्टाएं भी, आवर एफर्ट्स आर ऑल्सो इन्वॉल्व्ड। तो देखिए क्या कह रहे हैं कि एक ही वर्ण का उच्चारण किया ब्रह्मा ने, द का, द सबके लिए, और पूछा कि आप समझ गए? तो देवताओं ने कहा कि पितामह हम समझ गए, क्योंकि हमारी प्रवृत्ति, देवताओं की प्रवृत्ति भोगोन्मुख होती है, इसलिए हमारे लिए ये प्रकृति है, इसलिए हमारे लिए उपदेश है कि हम इस संयम करें, दमन करें, इसका, इस प्रवृत्ति का दमन करें, है ना। उसी तरह से असुरों के लिए कहा गया कि असुरों की प्रवृत्ति है हिंसा की, तो वो दया भाव करें, द से दया का अर्थ है। और मनुष्य के लिए क्या है कि मनुष्य संग्रह करता रहता है। अभी चर्चा हुई कि हम अपनी आवश्यकता से ज़्यादा संग्रह करते हैं भगवद गीता में भी, तो एक प्रकार की कुचेष्टा है और वो दंड के भागी होंगे आदि। तो मनुष्य ने कहा कि हम जीवन भर संग्रह करते हैं, हमारे लिए उपदेश है कि हम दान करें, यही सर्वोत्तम है। दान वैल्यू है हमारे यहाँ, संग्रह नहीं। त्याग वैल्यू है, संग्रह नहीं। और संग्रह भी है तो लोक संग्रह है, लोक के लिए ये वैल्यू है, ये सोशल वेलफेयर के लिए। और आप जानते हैं कि एक दार्शनिक प्री-सोक्रेटिस या उस टाइम का है वो, जिसको हम कहते हैं प्रोटैगोरस, उसका कहना था कि मैन इज मेजर ऑफ द थिंग्स, मैन इज मेजर ऑफ द थिंग्स। और बाद में जो सेमेटिक सिविलाइजेशंस बढ़ी, उनके मूल में ये बातें देखने को मिलती हैं। मैन सेंटर्ड थिंकिंग या सोसाइटी या सिविलाइजेशन उन्होंने क्रिएट की। इंडिया हैज़ नेवर बीन लाइक दिस। इंडियन विजन इज कॉस्मोलॉजिकल, मनुष्य उसके केंद्र में नहीं है। इसलिए हम ये चर्चा कर सकते हैं कि हम जिसको आजकल इकोलॉजी कह रहे हैं, वो एक दूसरे के साथ अन्वित होकर के जीने का नाम है, न कि एक को केंद्र में रख करके, एक को प्रधान बना करके और शेष को गौण बना देने का नाम। और उसके उस इम्बैलेंस के चलते जो कठिनाइयाँ हुई हैं वो हमें इस तरह की संगोष्ठियों तक ले आई हैं, जिस पर आज हम चर्चा करने के लिए विवश हैं, और हमारा अपना अस्तित्व कहीं संकट में दिखता है। तो ये मैन सेंटर्ड सिविलाइजेशन नहीं है, कल्चर नहीं है। जैसे कि बृहदारण्यक उपनिषद में कहते हैं, एषा आत्मा समः पुलिशिना समो मशकेन समो नागेन सम एभिस्त्रिभिर्लोके समो अनेन सर्वेण, कि यही आत्मा सब में है, एक चींटी में भी है, एक हाथी में भी है। ऐसा नहीं कि एक हाथी में बड़ा आत्मा तो होता है और चींटी में छोटा, ऐसा नहीं। तो इसके आधार पर इस समत्व का प्रतिपादन किया गया है और सबके लिए यह समान रूप से विद्यमान है। एक चींटी को भी उतना ही अधिकार है जितना कि एक बड़े जीव को, और इस तरह से ये पूरी जीवन दृष्टि हमारी चलती है। इन सबके बीच आप देखेंगे कि एक इकोलॉजी ऑफ थॉट भी है इस कल्चर में। ये पैगन कल्चर है अभी भी। भारत शायद एकमात्र विश्व में ऐसा कल्चर है या ऐसी सभ्यता है जिसको हम पैगन सभ्यता आज भी कह सकते हैं। और उसकी विशेषता ही यही है कि इसमें मल्टीप्लिसिटी, डाइवर्सिटी एक नॉर्म है। आजकल जिस अर्थ में हम डाइवर्सिटी या ये मल्टीप्लिसिटी की चर्चा करते हैं, उसका मतलब है कि हर चीज खंड खंड में है, अलग अलग है। दिस इज नॉट डाइवर्सिटी। ये डाइवर्सिटी भारत का नहीं है। ये तो हमने एक पॉलिटिकल डिस्कोर्स में ये सब चीजें बन गई हमारे यहाँ। डाइवर्सिटी कहने का मतलब है कि जहां वन मैनिफेस्ट्स इनटू मेनी एंड मेनी कैन बी हार्मोनाइज्ड इनटू वन, यू नो, ये हमारा अद्वैत चिंतन है, ये हमारी यूनिटी है, इसको कहते हैं डाइवर्सिटी। और इसलिए एक एक अवयव इस प्रकृति का एक दूसरे से अन्वित होने के कारण जीवंत और सप्राण है। नहीं तो अलग अलग खंडित कर देंगे तो ये सारी जितने कंपोनेंट्स हैं दे ऑल विल वैनिश और दैट विल क्रिएट ए ग्रेटर क्राइसिस। तो इसलिए अब प्रश्न ये है कि सिद्धांत तो हमारे यहाँ बहुत है। मैं महर्षि पतंजलि की तरफ ले जाना चाहता हूँ। महाभाष्य में जो कह रहे हैं शायद उसके अनुसार हमें कुछ सोचने का अवसर मिलेगा। कहते हैं कि चतुर्भिश्च प्रकारे विद्यो उपयुक्ता भवति। 4 प्रकार से कोई विद्या उपयुक्त बनती है। कौन कौन से तरीके हैं? आगम कालेन, जब आप आचार्य से सीखते हैं उसको, एक तो वह होता है चरण, उसका स्टेज। स्वाध्याय कालेन, दूसरा है कि जो सीखा है उस पर निरंतर हम रिफ्लेक्ट करें, इंट्रोस्पेक्शन करें, मेडिटेट करें उस पर। स्वाध्याय कालेन। प्रवचन कालेन, जब हम उसको किसी और को भी प्रदान करते हैं, उसको और डिसेमिनेट करते हैं। और सबसे बड़ी बात है व्यवहार कालेन इति, उसका व्यवहार हो हमारे जीवन में भी हो। केवल हम सिद्धांत तक सीमित न रह जाएं, कि हम अपने जीवन में भी उसको व्यवहार में ले आएं। तो शायद इस प्रकार का जो संकट है इकोलॉजी का और प्रकृति का और दूसरी चीज़ों का, वो शायद उस पर निश्चय ही हम कोई उसका निष्कर्ष प्राप्त कर सकेंगे और हम आगे के लिए अपने लिए मार्ग ढूंढ पाएंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। शायद समय समाप्त हो गया है।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। Moving ahead, our third speaker for the first session is Dr. R. Rangan. Dr. R. Rangan was awarded Yoga Vidya Varidhi, a doctoral degree in yoga from S. Vyasa University, Bangalore. He is a master of Vedas, Vedic Sanskrit, Upanishads, and epics. His main inspiration is Sri Ram, whom he calls as his friend, philosopher, and guide. He's an expert in narrating Ramayana in a beautiful way, which enthralls thousands of people. Dr. Rangan's admirers include scientists, sociologists, psychologists, spiritualists, and philanthropists, and all of us at Indus University. Dr. Rangan is the founder or president of Web of Life Makers, which spreads the values of Vedas and usage of Vedic values in everyday life. With these words, I invite you, sir, to let us know your insights on the subject.
ज्ञानेन आकाशकल्पेन धर्मान् योगगणोपमान् ज्ञेया भेदेन सम्बुद्धः तं वन्दे द्विपदाम्बरम्. Respected aspirants of nature, my humble pranams to all of you. Among the various practices and rituals of our Indian culture, the fire ritual, which we call as yajna or we may call as Agnihotra or Agni Karya, is one of the oldest rituals. Rigveda is the oldest available literature of Indian culture and in the world. The Veda starts with this ritual, Agni Mile Purohitam. The whole of the Veda, Rig, Yajus, Sama, all are getting resonated with this fire ritual. So let us explore few things regarding this. Even the Rigveda says this is the prime ritual among all rituals. Shakamayam dhumam arat apashyam vishuvata parayena varena ukshanam prishnim apachanta viraha tani dharmani prathamanyasam. It's a beautiful mantra. First mandala, 164th sukta, 43rd mantra. Shakamayam dhumam means the smoke created from cow dung. I see this everywhere. Arat apashyam. I understand by this effect the cause. This is a seed of Nyaya Shastra. Dhumo jnanam vibhavasoho. Vishuvata parayena varena. So here the effect is smoke and cause is the ritual fire. By this, the great sages are culturing the mother earth. Here Prishni is earth. Prishnim apachanta viraha. They are culturing the mother earth. These are the prime dharmas. Tani dharmani prathamani asanna. Interestingly, that which we find Tani dharmani prathamani asanna in the first mandala of Rigveda is again repeated in the 10th mandala for some other thing. Tani dharmani prathamani asanna is for cosmic creation, which indicates that cosmic creation has something to do with this simple fire ritual. So this fire ritual includes cow dung from a deshi cow and its smoke, and also the fire sticks, and oblation, ghee or clarified butter, so on and so forth. With all these things, they purified the nature. For this, there are hundreds of scientific papers available nowadays. I'm not going into it. What I want to focus is that they knew that purified the nature. It's not just a ritual or worship. It is also a ritual and worship, but it's a technology. Okay, nature purifying technology or rain making technology, you may call it as. There are several mantras in the Vedas which talk about how this Agni Karyam, how this fire ritual purifies the nature. Take for example in Taittiriya Samhita, Krishna Yajurveda, Asita varnaha harayaha suparnaha mihovasana divam utpatanti ta ava vrutran sadanani kritvadit prithvi gritair vyudyate. This is from the third kanda of Krishna Yajurveda. How the fire smoke gets emanated and pervades in the atmosphere, bringing the clouds together and make the clouds to shower to the world. Ta avavrutran sadanani kritva. It creates the water, it creates raining, and how it purifies the what we call now as ozone layer, right? Purifies the ozone layer. Very famous mantra. Bhumim parjanya jinvanti divam jinvanti agnayaha. Parjanyaha bhumim jinvanti. The raining is strengthening the earth, and fire, the ritual fire, is strengthening the sky. This is how the Veda says. Therefore, they all knew, those who were performing this fire rituals, they all knew very well that they are purifying the nature through this. Now let us see about some sociological aspects of this ritual. Even the word yajna has three meanings. I don't want to go into all three meanings. One meaning, sangatikarana, unifying the beings, unifying the concepts. Okay. Another meaning, as he said, dana. Yaja dane, yaja sangatikarane, yaja deva pujayam. These are the three meanings. So, bringing together is a very interesting meaning. It includes caring, sharing, yajna. First, long back, they all did this ritual. They had the attitude of purifying the nature. Then after that, after offering oblation to the ritual fire, the remain we may call prasada, On those days, it may be, is my guess, barbecue. Okay, from that ritual, they took and they offered it to, first of all, the guests, not to themselves. Somebody said, some scholar said here, in Maharashtra, they come out and see whether atithis are coming. And in fact, this is what we see almost, I think, throughout India. Okay, we come out and see whether atithis are coming, unexpected guests. Somebody translated atithi as unexpected guest. Okay, so they are coming. So that's very interesting. So first to the ritual fire to purify the nature, and then to the guest who is coming to our house. That's very interesting. Then only, as a third thing, we consume. We are not immediately jumping. Here I wish to quote a shloka, a verse from Raghuvamsha. The cow Nandini, she was pleased with King Dilipa due to his service, and then Nandini cow says to Dilipa, O king, you can have my milk. After a long time of service, she is pleased and she says, come on, milk me and have this milk. At that time, Dilipa, a very great emperor, he was not excited. He says to Nandini, only by having that milk or only by giving this milk to his wife, they are going to have a child. That is why they are serving this Nandini. But the king is telling, Vatsasya homartha videscha sesham risheranughyam adigamyamataha audhasya michami tavopabhoktum shashtam samurvyai varakshitayaha. This is the second chapter. First, may the calf have the milk. Dilipa's attitude. May the calf have the milk first. Then, remaining, I will take a part of milk for my guru's Agnihotra, Maharshi Vasishtha. After getting permission from Vasishtha, whatever he gives, let me have the remaining milk for us. After telling this, he gives a simile, Shashtamsam Urvya iva Rakshitayaha. As we take the sixth part of tax from the ruling regions. That's a very interesting thing. All others go to the country or the ruled region. Okay. Shashtamsam Urvya iva Rakshitaya. That's a very interesting. So, the continuity, some scholars said the Rigvedic statement, Kevala gaha bhavati kevaladi. One should not eat all alone, should share. This Rigvedic statement, we can see the practice of this Rigvedic statement throughout India. It's a pan-Indian practice up to our time. In the same way, it is continuous. First in the Veda, the Vedic ritual, there after offering to the nature, we are seeing whether atithis are coming. Then that comes to this context. While Dilipa wants to take milk from the mother cow, he says that first of all, let Guru take, let calf take. After this, he is comparing this to his own job. Sixth part of tax we consume generally. So these are, here you see a continuation from the ritual fire to consumption of milk and then tax collection. In all these things we see this. It's a very interesting thing. Let us have a glimpse of a psychological interpretation of this ritual fire now. Because every god in the Rigveda or in the Vedas has at least two meanings. One exoteric, another one esoteric. So the fire in the psychological realm, the fire is the passion, the will. This is what the Veda itself says. Even Shankaracharya is commenting in Ishavasya Upanishad, Krato Smara. There he comments Krato as passion or will. And Agni is described in the first sukta of Rigveda as Kavikratu. Agnir hota kavikratuhu satyas chitrasravastamaha. That is how the Veda says. Kavikratu means the passion of the seer. Kavi means seer. Kavi in popular Sanskrit is poet. But in the Veda, Kavi means seer. So he is Agni Bhagavan is a seer. Sorry, Agni Bhagavan is a passion of seer. What can be the passion of seer? Who is seer? Seer is the one who sees beyond rag or dvesh. Seer is the he is the one who goes beyond strong attachment and strong hatred. So such a kind of seer, for him, what can be his passion? His passion is nothing but the universal welfare, passion of universal welfare, working for universal welfare, vision and mission behind universal welfare, and the ritual fire represents that throughout the Vedic literature. This is what we see. Growing the passion of universal welfare is the internal yajna. And based on this only, 5 Mahayagnas have come. You may be familiar with. 5 Mahayagnas, you may be knowing that. That is Deva Yajna, Pitru Yajna, Manushya Yajna, Brahma Yajna, Manushya Yajna, and finally Bhuta Yajna. Deva Yajna means worship of gods, that is ritual fire worship, cleansing the nature, that is Deva Yajna. Pitru Yajna means taking care of our parents, taking care of our children, and worshipping our ancestors as we do in Sraddha and Tarpan. And Brahma Yajna is worshipping our sages. How? By learning their scriptures, by learning their contributions, that is Brahma Yajna. And then Manushya Yajna is social service, or first of all hospitality to the guests. Okay, in this way the ritual fire is spread. The word Yajna is not narrowed. Yajna is taken to all these things. Manushya Yajna. Finally, Bhuta Yajna. Bhuta Yajna means all non-human species. Taking care of all non-human species. So let me conclude with a very interesting thing, what we find in Tamil Nadu. Hope that it is pan-Indian. While a mother is feeding a child, what she says, in Tamil, she says, Amma koruva, Appa koruva, Tata koruva. That's how she says. It means a portion for God, another portion for our ancestors, another portion for your father, another portion for mother, another portion for friends, another portion for crow, another portion for dog, and another portion for this baby. This is a simple song in Tamil. Okay, this shows the 5 Mahayagnas. Every mother in India is teaching her child Pancha Mahayagnas, 5 Mahayagnas in this way. Not only she is teaching, not just teaching, this child needs it, because the child is not opening its mouth if others are not eating. So in Sanskrit, dharma means nature. Okay, see the nature of the child. The child can eat only with others, and this is what we see. So that this Pancha Mahayagna is taught to the child. And what I feel is, with this Pancha Mahayagna, in Yajna, the whole Sanatana Dharma is inherent. And this Pancha Mahayagna can be the definition for Sanatana Dharma. And mother is teaching this Pancha Mahayagna to the child. This is what we see. Dhanyavada.
I thank all the eminent speakers for enlightening us on the profound importance and deep impact of Shastras. We need to go back to our Shastras to implement most impactful ecological practices in the 21st century. Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed pleasure having you over here. Now, we move on to the next phase of the session, which is the open discussion round, wherein all the experts shall engage in a discussion on the theme of session 1, that is Shastric Foundation of Ecological Consciousness.
So these sessions are designed in 2 parts. First part is 60 minutes. We are going to hear experts. So we have gone through that. And 30 minutes, because this is about policy making, guidelines and deliberation. So we are keeping it open discussion between experts. So we request all experts to, ask questions to our panelists over here, and not only asking questions, but engaging in whatever discussion regarding this topic they would like to have. Of course, keeping in mind the ultimate objective of recommendation and policy making in mind. Thank you. Or Bhagwati Prakash ji to initiate this conversation. Maybe can we have?
So at the outset, I convey my deep respect that you have very meticulously explained Shaivism and epics and Ramayana and all these things. Now, problem is that our scriptures have many connotations. Even say, for example, when we talk of Vaisheshik Darshan, on the one hand, it talks of salvation and all these things. So, like Yato Abhyudaya Nishchaya Siddhi Sadharma. These days, the whole of the Vaisheshik Darshan is being interpreted on the basis of quantum mechanics. When we say that Yato Abhyudaya Nishchaya Siddhi Dharma, people say this is the principle of minimum energy state, that a substance can go to any energized state. Its ultimate state would be, or the equilibrium state would be, where it consumes minimum energy. So today we have a severe dilemma how to interpret our scriptures because they have several connotations. That is one thing. Another thing is just timing of our these scriptures. For example, you mentioned of epic Ramayana. We have to study Ramayana from one point of view that it talks of a lot of ecological factors. For example, Ramayana talk in two places. Valmiki ji has mentioned four tusked mammoths, चार दांत वाले हाथियों का वर्णन दो स्थानों पे किया. Modern archaeology says that four tusked mammoths have become extinct 1 million years ago. 10 लाख साल पहले वो विलुप्त हो गए. It means this is our connotation that Treta Yug also we talk that 8,69,000 years ago because Dwapar has lapsed. So, how to reinterpret all these scriptures in light of modern scientific revelations? Problem is most of the people having expertise in scriptures, they are not pursuing the modern scientific researches. And those who are involved in deep researches, they are not aware what is there in our scriptures. So, how can we just correlate the two?
Namaskaram. So what I understood is like based upon the time, it talks about different systems. Like now it is said in this Shastras as this, in this Shastras, this has taken place at this point of time, so which we have to believe. So what I would, what I have been taught and what I have, like the thought came to me when I was young about these, like they say Ramayana took place at this place and like this Samhara took place at this point of time. So it may differ, but what we should, how we should understand is this is 28th Kali Yuga. Ashtavimshatitame Kali Yuga, 28th Kali Yuga. So 4,32,000 years, 8,64,000 years, 12,96,000 years, 17,28,000 years. Likewise, the Yugas changes. So in now we talk about this Kali Yuga, and in the previous Kali Yuga also it could have taken place. Even that could have been recorded, and we could have got that. So that we should go with that belief.
My query is that on the one hand, we can interpret our Vaisheshik Darshan for salvation. On the other hand, people are interpreting on the basis of quantum mechanics. Likewise, in Valmiki Ramayana also, when we talk of archaeology and all these things. So, actually, our scriptures are having multifaceted dimensions where one has to interpret on the basis of archaeology, on the basis of quantum mechanics, on the basis of artificial intelligence. So today we find that many such interpretations can be drawn. So how can we find a common convergence of various kinds of interpretations, that is scientific interpretations as well as traditional interpretations? How can we correlate the two?
It would be difficult to bring a common thing in it because loko bhinna ruchihi. So you should take into, like you see in this form, I will believe in it. So I see as a philosophical, let me go accordingly, because like we cannot convince or we cannot make everyone happy in the sense, because I cannot understand quantum physics. So if other person is expert in quantum physics, he understands in that. For example, Shivalinga, like I say, like Shivalinga, it does Brahma Bhaga. Brahma Bhaga is square. Then Vishnu Bhaga is Ashtakshari, octagonal. You know, it turns. Then Rudra Bhaga is a circle. You just go around. So I see as, you know, movement of atoms. The movement of atom 4 becomes 8. 8 becomes circular. This is I see. But my guru, how he sees is, he will see Shivalinga as Shivalinga. Shivalinga is Sadashiva. Sadashiva Tattva. Isha, Anatat Purusha, Aghora, Vamadeva, Sadyojata. So it is seen like that. So like formless is seen as form. Weightless is carrying of this weight. See, I don't have weight. In the sense, I have the physical weight, but the soul is weightless. I do not have a form, real form, I'm telling you. I have a form now, but real form is formless. Likewise, Devatas also, even Shastras also, we should interpret in whichever way, as far as it helps you in understanding more, or it helps you in developing your bhakti towards the Lord. That is how I see, sir. Because we cannot bring everyone into a common. It may be difficult, sir. If I have the taste, basically I'm a science student. So when you talk about science and spiritualism, I have the taste. But my guru, he always says this Agamas has said this. So fine. As far as I'm devoted, as far as I'm doing my prayers to Shivalinga in that form, I would say it would be better, sir.
Yeah, this has been one of the very best sessions. I have to admit that I'm a scientist. In other words, I'm the only unseeded player in this entire tournament. You're all seeded players. Okay. With that, I do have some interesting remarks just for the benefit of writing recommendations, if you like. Vedas are so profound. I would be preaching to the choir if I speak more about Vedas. You're all experts. 20th century, 21st century, these are the era, these are the times of evidence-based approach for everything, for energy, for treating diseases, for water conservation, name it. Every scientist, non-scientist is really interested in asking, give me the evidence. Give me the evidence. Yeah, it's all, we live in evidence-based economy. Knowledge-based economy is all about evidence. We can't just say that the economy is very powerful without providing the evidence. Likewise, economy is going down without providing the evidence. So the Vedic science, so what I'm trying to say, in Vedas, there are references to atoms, but those are embedded in shlokas. To distill all of that knowledge to the general public would mean that the general public, or the entire general public, India, perhaps globally, need an education in Vedas. That is perhaps a tall expectation. So how do we connect this Vedic knowledge through Vedic science and making Vedas more toward evidence-based approach?
What I feel is that many young students can be encouraged to learn Sanskrit and Vedic language, Vedic Chandasa, and also in a also can be trained. These students can be trained to think in a scientific way and to publish the papers to show, not to show, publish the papers to present how the scientific insights are found in the Vedas and how the Vedas can be helpful to the future science. Regarding that, if there are many scientific papers which can come, by that this can help Indian knowledge system. This can help how these Vedic ideas, Vedic concepts can be brought into the education syllabus. So fundamentally, we need to publish a lot of scientific papers, encouraging a lot of youngsters regarding this. This is what I feel.
Can I have a quick follow-up?
May I? Yes.
Yeah. One simple follow-up is that I think we need to think outside the box. We as scientists, we collaborate. If I don't know a certain field of work, if I'm working in biology, if I needed some principles of physics, I will go and knock the door of a physicist and start collaborations. I think every scientist, in my opinion, needs to start thinking, let me start collaborating with a Vedic specialist. That's the only way I feel that we can build this bridge. Just as an example, Sushruta has said that they used minerals and herbal cocktail to produce disease curing medicines during the Vedic times. So in our own small scientific approach, we reverse engineered that. We used very similar minerals, very similar herbs, and then reconnected what Shushruta was telling, that their medical approach was atom based. So we can show the atoms to the public. So this is just one small example. So by working by physicists, biologists, chemists, regardless of what scientific discipline they work, I think it is important, it is imperative, in my opinion, that we establish this collaboration for the near and long term.
May.
No, I think Sir has already answered those. And whatever you have asked, it relates to the greater issues of epistemology. What are the means involved, how we are going to arrive at a certain kind of conclusion. And this has been widely discussed, not only in one particular philosophical systems, but in almost all. And there is a tendency that, okay, perception, inference, verbal testimony, etc., all these are the various means of knowledge. But Indian mind doesn't stop there in the framework of that epistemology. It transcends it also. That it is very much stated that whatever is not explained through these various epistemological frameworks, that doesn't mean the reality is not beyond that. You know, whatever is presented through these various means, it is fine. Maybe that is also doubtful, because we are looking at reality through something, through perception, through inference, through verbal testimony and other things. Okay, so reality is structured accordingly. The means which we apply to know something also colors the knowledge of that object. So there is a tendency to go beyond. We call it aparoksha anubhuti. Aparoksha anubhuti. Pratyaksha, paroksha, and aparoksha. So there is no mediation between the knower and the knowable of some epistemology or so. So these things will change. This even West has evolved a lot since Renaissance and other things, other phases. So whatever we see, and one important thing is that when we say scientific approach, that only means that whatever the West has developed, we are trying to adjust our realities, our understanding of the things. The use of word scripture for these texts, these are called knowledge texts, sir. So maybe that is not that much advisable, and we still need to stick to the word like shastra, or let us say, yeah? So scripture, as you know, it comes from a tradition which gave more prestige to the written form, visible forms, and so scripture like that. So these things are, even in the West, these are evolving, and we have the clue in our tradition that it is possible to know even without these mediations, those elements which mediates between the knower and the knowable. So that is, thank you, sir.
Um, just to add to what Sir has said, one thing is there are multiple meanings that we can take out of one shlok. So a scientist will see science in it, a poet will probably see poetry in it, a mathematician might see infinity being described in it, and things like that. So I think that it shouldn't be just scientists who should start collaborating, but every people from every branch should get exposed to this uh, shastras, so that everybody will start studying it, looking at it in a different way, and probably find out meanings which are not there in the modern science or the modern ways of thinking or the modern social sciences, but we find out something new and create something new. New as in which already has a foundation in our shastras. So I think one of the recommendations could be that we should be learning these shastras not just for Sanskrit, because even if these books are Sanskrit books, they are basically like, uh, if all science has been written in English, we don't say it is an English book. We say it is a book of physics, it is a book of biology, it's a book of poetry. Similarly, these Shastras, our books, should not be called as Sanskrit texts, but they should be called as books of knowledge, as you said, sir. So, and it should be taught and read by people from all branches.
It's very good recommendation. There are Chaturdash Vidya Sthanas, 14 knowledge disciplines. Language is common, Sanskrit, of course, but that doesn't mean that knowing only the language, you are expert in that discipline also. You can speak very good English, but you are not expert in any particular discipline in which that book is written. That is important. So Chaturdash Vidya Sthanani, as you know that. Kashmir was the center of all these 14 knowledge disciplines at a time. Agamas came from Kashmir. Yes, we have forgotten this Kashmir. The seed is there. Again, it's going to yes. Whole of Bharata. Agama practice. This is the Sharda Desh. From Kashmir only. Yes, yes, yes. This is the Sharda Desh, Kashmir, named after Rishi Kashyap. We have forgotten this is Kashmir, unfortunately.
I want to make a point that the collaboration that our scientist friend suggested, it should be between all the different disciplines, as Madam pointed out. It should be between Sanskrit texts and social sciences also. Because, for example, some of us come from social science field. We study the modern or what I can clearly say, contemporary economic practices. But these contemporary economic practices have relevance, huge relevance to the ancient texts that are there. We don't relate it. So if Sanskrit scholars sit with social scientists from different disciplines, we can create um, better resource material, and we can see whether continuity is there. Largely this continuity is there. So to establish that um, um, discourse or collaboration between Sanskrit scholars from different fields and the contemporary social scientists who have studied the what we call modern textbooks or modern theories can be done. So this is very important in my opinion. And I have a
Please continue. Please continue.
no, that is for Professor Rajnish.
Okay. Uh, I wanted to rather suggest something. I'd like to seek your validation on the same. When we look at the Shastras and when we look at the modern science, if I can discriminate between the two in a very simple term, it is a Shraddhavan Labhate Gyadam. So, in order to, as you very rightly said, that there is no distinction between the knower and the knowledge and the process of knowing. I mean, they all converge at oneness, right? So, going from that perspective, if I see something which appears in front of me, I first of all need to believe in it, practice it, in order to be one with it. Whereas the evidence-based approach of Western science starts with suspicion. So Shraddhavan Labhate Jnanam does not hold true over there. So do we agree on this basic difference in the approaches of the two? So if there is a basic difference in the approaches of the two, then should we indulge in the exercise of trying to arrive at the convergence? That is my first question that I'd like to ask. And I'd like to share a small experience that I had. I was speaking to a few friends of mine that if you can't do much, at least do one thing: start fasting on every Ekadashi. You can't do much, that's okay, and you avoid all the outside foods. And we have a special code of conduct that we follow in Gujarat during what you should eat and what you should not eat during Ekadashi. So he said, what benefit I'll receive? I said, well, you'll receive some benefits on your physical front. That is evident. I won't talk about that. But your mind will be cleansed. And he said, there's no evidence to prove it. I said, you believe in it. You try it for 6 months. Give it a shot. And if you believe, if you experience that you've been benefited, would you still like to search for evidence? So, what do we place at a higher pedestal, evidence or experience? So, I believe that the Indic tradition is more about experience based learning. Just a small example to put it forward. We roam a lot in the villages. So, I was in the small village, and the weather forecast said that it's going to rain heavily in 2 days. And that farmer's entire farm was loaded with crops, so which were not taken inside. So I said, your farm will be totally washed out. What will you do? He said, it won't rain. I said, the weather department says it will rain. He said, the fruit of my neem tree has not ripened yet. And if it is not ripened, it cannot rain. Now, this is not a logic that holds true for all the spaces. He said about his own neem tree. And it actually happened. It drizzled a little bit. It stopped raining for 20 days. He finished all his work on the farm. And then when the fruit ripened, it rained. I asked him what is the logic behind it. I'm also a science student, did my MTech thermal engineering from IIT Madras. So I tend to think in that, introspective manner. So I asked him what's the reason. He said there's no reason. I've been looking at this neem tree for 45 years and this is what is happening. So I believe the fundamental difference between the Western approach and the Bharatiya approach is we try to be one with nature. We observe nature the way it is, and based on that, we try to learn what happens and how happens. Probably it is not very much ingrained into us to get into the detail of why is this happening. That question of why probably a bit. We use a term called NDT, non-destructive testing. So, trying to analyze why this happens at times becomes a little bit destructive to the nature and the reality. So, my fundamental question was that understanding a bit of Shastra and a bit of science, should we indulge into this exercise? And what's our take on the difference of approaches that I suggested? So, I may be wrong. Please enlighten us. Thank you very much.
Shastras actually, Shasanat idi Shastraha. We just have to follow it. As you said, it is a belief. And I always say, people who say, only if I see, I'm going to believe it. Have we seen our own face with our own eyes? So either through, like selfie or some photograph, or at least people are not running me without seeing something. So we believe the face is here. And we believe some food pipe is some kind of belief. If I'm going to say, only if I see, I'm going to believe it. It is not possible at all. So even our own life, even our own self, which is formless, we have not seen it, but we believe that it is there. And when it leaves us, likewise, it's, as you rightly said, we just have to accept, because our forefathers have followed it and they've been benefited by it. And Madam also, she said, like what all, the elders, they did, you're following it, the traditional methods. So it has got its, we just have to follow it, sir. If you're going to check and do, fine. That is also, actually, the greatest strength of Sanatana Dharma is we don't compel anyone. If you want to come to the, Shaiva Agama, during the Utsava, God goes out for Diksha. He says, Adikshitanam, Dhurtanam, Pakshinam, Mrigadarukam. It says, Sarvesham Samhriti Pradam. So it goes out, the Lord goes out. Lord goes out from the Mulasthana, the Utsavaha, Savayityuchyate Srishtihi. So the God goes out to reach even Adikshita, Dhurta, Pakshi, Mriga. So I would say it's autopilot. whatever you follow, you are into it. We cannot go out of it. So we should be cool and we should just follow. And at the time, I would always say the time would be the best answer, Kala. It would say the experience is the best teacher. So by experience, we can just follow it, sir.
Just two or three things I want to share. One, even in the Western scientific explorations, we have something called hypothesis. This hypothesis, I believe that it includes some verifiable belief. So that also has a concept of belief. This is what I feel. If I'm not correct, please rectify. This is one point. Second point, Shraddhavan Labhate Jnanam. There also, for long before, a very great soul has defined Shraddha as faith. The word faith is used as a definition of Shraddha contextually. But if you go to the literal meaning of Shraddha, it is not faith, it is sincerity. Okay. For example, in Rigveda, Shraddham Ugreshu Chakrire. Yatha Deva Asureshu Shraddham Ugreshu Chakrire. In the battle of Deva and Asura, Devas did Shraddha to Asuras to win them. Here it becomes sincerity only. So Shraddhavan Labhate Jnanam means one who is sincere can get Jnanam. This is what I understand. But anyhow, Shraddha has become faith even in Sanskrit dictionary nowadays, and long back it was defined in that way, and it was taken by Neo-Vedantins also as faith. So it continues. This is one thing. Even though faith, I feel that faith has its own place, both in the Western and Eastern, what we can call as philosophies and all. The same way, sincerity also has its own place. I don't see any contradiction. One more thing, internal. Many of the philosophical discoveries of India, they are internal. Therefore, through equipments, we may not find all those things. For example, you may be aware of that scientist, a very famous scientist, Sam Harris. He says two statements he gives. One, no external proof is available for the consciousness. Nothing. There can be some, what to say, science, SIGNS, science, through which we can find somebody is alive and all. But for existence of consciousness, there is no external proof can establish it, that I exist. This is one thing. Another thing he says, anything can be illusion in the world except my existence. This is what we say, he says. Why I am telling this? See, to understand this me or the facets of me, the consciousness, the equipments which we have in laboratory may not be adequate. So we need to miles to go before we sleep. That's the thing.
Okay, just one second. Actually, evidence and experience you talked about. Experience itself is the evidence. Sometimes, चैतन्य जिसको हम कहते हैं ना, चैतन्य को जानने का और क्या साधन है चैतन्य के अतिरिक्त? तो साधन और साध्य एक हो जाते हैं उस लेवल पर जा करके, है ना? तो इसलिए कहते हैं कि वो एक्सपीरियंशियल जो चीज़ें हैं वो अपने आप में, आप किसी कहते हैं इसमें पोइटिक्स में, संस्कृत पोइटिक्स में एक सिद्धांत है रस सिद्धांत जिसको कहते हैं भरत मुनि का। तो कहते हैं कि इसका लोकेशन और इसका एग्जिस्टेंस का क्या एविडेंस है? कहते हैं कि जो सहृदय है, जो उसको एक्सपीरियंस करता है, वही उसका प्रमाण है। वैसे ही ब्रह्म का है, ब्रह्मानुभूति जिस योगी को होती है वही योगी उसका प्रमाण है। सबको नहीं होती इसका मतलब कि वो नहीं है, ऐसा भी नहीं कहा जा सकता, क्योंकि योगियों को होती है, सहृदय को उसका अनुभव होता है काव्य का, रस का, तो इसलिए वो प्रमाण है। इस दृष्टि से हम चर्चा करते हैं। धन्यवाद।
Just to humbly add to the point of discussion between the two sciences, there are three ways to acquire knowledge. The first and the best is Shabda Praman. Second is Anuman. And third one is Pratyaksha Praman. The present science, I'm also a science student, so the present science deals with the Pratyaksha Praman. And that's why they wish to prove it and see it. Like, for example, 2 hydrogen plus 1 oxygen is equal to H2O. Now this has been proven. So then only this will stand true. But this is the last way of learning. But the best one is the Shabda Praman. The analogy of Shabda Praman can be given. A child goes to her mother and asks, "Who is my father?" And then mother says, "He is your father." So for all of us, our mother has introduced us to our father. If the child asks to prove it, now in present science, the DNA and other things can be proven. But here the point is, Vedas are the mother, and when we put faith on mother, that is Vedas, then the process of metaphysical knowledge, of self-realization comes, which he nicely said it, that this is to be experienced, this is to be realized. And realizations will only come when we put faith, put it into practice, and with that integrity, realize it. So out of these three phases, the Shabda Praman stands the best. And to understand Vedas through the meaning of Shabda Praman, we need to surrender to a guru, and the guru will let us know to the Vedas. Now science does ask, as Sir rightly says, and we need to prove it. In my experience of last 30 years, 23, 24 years working with rural India, I have seen that this highly profound and very high knowledge of Vedas is been put into practice in such a simple day-to-day life. And most of it, it's put so simple that we will miss it. So unless and until we understand the practice and how it is linked to the Vedic lifestyle, like for example, doing Tulsi Puja, watering Tulsi every day. And it shows Yani Kani Japa Pani Brahma Hatya Vikani Cha. Tani Tani Pranakshanti Pradakshina Pade Pade. So the highest put into simple thing. In the same way, all these Vedic principles are put in a so simple way, and the present situation why it leads to chaos is because most of the society is not able to answer the youngsters why it has to be done. For example, I too was like that. My grandmother used to say, "Do this." I used to say her, "I will not do unless and until you tell me why should I do it." So it was when I came in connection with ISKCON, with the Vedic, with the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, then I started realizing how scientific everything in our day-to-day cultural lifestyle is. Thank you very much.